So the thing that's on my mind at the moment, like everyone, is the rollout of the passports, I guess. The COVID passports.
Just 14 days to flatten the curve, right?
14 days to flatten the curve. Just another conspiracy coming true. And yeah, I mean, just the way that they're really running for the finishing line, just the speed at which this is all rolled out from, you know, was it last March when this deadly virus hit the world, and so quickly we seem to have given up so many of our freedoms, and now we're at the stage where, well, here in Mexico, as I said to you, that we're at a stage now where, I mean, whether or not it will be enforced because this is Mexico, but you won't be able to go into a restaurant without proof of vaccination or an up-to-date PCR test. So effectively, you to go get a coffee, you need to spend like, I don't know how many pesos on a PCR test, effectively. So you know, we're seeing real tyranny rolling out, and just the amount of people that's still going along with it.
And it's global. There's nowhere to run almost now. You know?
Yeah. I mean, unless you live on a desert island on your own, it's everywhere, isn't it? So yeah, it's what is promising is just seeing that at the same time there's still a lot of indoctrinated people. We're seeing, I mean, I know we both agree that protests, marches are, you know, are they really effective? But I think it's a good litmus test to see that, you know, it looks, each one there seems to be way more people.
Yeah.
So we're seeing, like, I guess, a real race to the finishing line between, are we going to wake up? Are enough humans going to stand up and refuse all of these Orwellian rules, or are we just going to keep complying, going along with it, and they're going to push, because they're not going to stop. We know that these, you know, this 1% or global elite or whatever you want to call them, they're psychopaths, and they're inherently evil, and they've got this agenda that has been written down and followed for decades, maybe centuries, and they're running for the finishing line, so they're not going to stop. So the only thing that stands between that is of course us.
Yeah.
But how do you get enough people to?
Well, that's also the point. It's like, what do you do to stop it? Like, what is the solution? Because a lot of people are calling out what's going on. Yeah, it's great, but not many people are coming up with actual, like, tangible forms of solution to all this. You know, what do you think? I mean, apart from non-compliance and trying to keep things as it is, but I mean, what else can you do? I mean, there's people that are going to court, you know, there's like people like Dr. Rainer Fulmick who are meant to be like taking some of these crooks to court, but I'm starting to question whether they're controlled opposition, you know. So, but it also absolves yourself of your own personal responsibility when you know you talk about this as well, like the saviour complex.
Yes.
You know, so it kind of abdicates you of your own personal action. Yeah. So sometimes I question some of these as well, but what could the Joe Blogs be doing? What can your average person be doing?
Well, it's like, for me, you can't. You have to have that sort of internal awakening before you can have any action. You know, you don't just suddenly stop complying unless you really understand what's going on, and you know, understanding the intricacies of what we're involved in, this, you know, this matrix construct, and all its trappings. So it's almost like you can't really put the cart before the horse. People have got to have that, hang on a minute, something's not right in the world. I mean, it's...
But what do they do, though, once the people, I like that inner stand, people that understand what's going on, what should they be doing as a form of action?
Well, I think it's unrealistic to think that one person is going to change the world, or, you know, but I think everyone, and I had this discussion with one of my other friends the other day, he was saying to me that there needs to be a leader of some sort, similar to what we were saying. Just actually a random guy, a Canadian guy in the restaurant the other day, and he was saying what we need is some kind of Che Guevara or some kind of... So I said to him, I said, but that's the problem. I said, we're looking for one person, and you see it at these protests where everyone's giving all their energy to, I mean, you know, the likes of David Icke, and, you know, you can question whether or not he's really for the truth or not. that's for another discussion.
Yeah.
But the point is you've got, you know, you've got people that are still stuck in that saviour mindset, still looking for other people to lead them. And I guess in a way it is necessary to have trailblazers. I think we've seen that throughout history. There's always been those you know, standout figures, if you like, that have inspired revolutions. And but I think where we are right now, I think in this sort of quote unquote awakening, is that we have to all become those leaders, and we all have to become those Che Guevaras or whoever you want to look at in that respect. And then once we come from that place of, hang on, I don't need someone else to lead me or save me, and really understanding our true sovereignty, and that getting rid of that whole belief in authority, because I think for me that is key, because even with the revolutions of the past, obviously we're still in a condition of enslavement, so whatever's happened in the past, it's not really worked. But that whole idea that we need leaders, we need, you know, these people that we call government to tell us what to do and how to live our lives, and when we can do this, when we can do that. But that also takes introspection, and even a lot of people in the alternative media, you mention, well, no government, and they get freaked out by it. They say, oh, well, we need someone to lead us. Well, we've got like the worst people, like these people are, you know, child abusers, warmongering, tax evaders, yet people in the alternative media still want to lean on these people. So
like who? Like which sort of people are you talking about?
Just general people that I've spoken to down the years. Not everyone.
Yeah, but who are they leaning on?
They still want to. They still want to think that putting in a vote, casting a
Yeah,
vote,
no, I see
whether
what you mean, yeah,
whether it's. I mean, we saw it with the whole Trump and the Q thing. Thousands upon thousands of the so-called awake folk were still giving their power away to a politician, and we see it in the UK with. I mean, Corbyn was a big one for the woke crew,
exactly,
wasn't he?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
this old man. They always like to present an old frail man.
Dodgy, like grandfather figure.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders in America,
Yeah.
and you know they're so clever at masquerading and presenting people to us that appear on the surface to be on our side.
Yeah.
And then you scratch a bit deeper, and you know it's the same old thing. And
stage show, yeah.
Yeah, and that comes with people not truly, they haven't evolved their consciousness enough to understand their own true power, and the fact that the quicker we stop giving our power and hoping that one of these people is going to save us, then probably the quicker that we're going to get out of it all.
Yeah, it's funny actually, because you know when you look at these politicians, you mentioned Trump there, right? So it's almost like a projection of that which they lack within themselves. So for me, Trump is like, you know, like WWF, they have the heel and the baby face.
Yeah.
You know, so like the heel, the bad guy, would have a run for a bit with the belt. He'll be like WWF champion for a while, and then they'll bring in the baby face, like the good guy.
Yeah.
And then they always know like the right character to come in and displace the other one, right?
Yeah.
And in a way, Trump he was the archetype, I think, for all the missing ingredients politically of what was going on in America. So there was a general feeling that there was a lack of boundaries, there was a lack of individuality, a lack of sovereignty, a lack of that strong masculine presence within the country, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost as if Trump was like the well-packaged WWF character because there was a vacuum that was created on the right, and he basically played the character that like most gave everyone that like orgasmic like feeling of like that's it embodied, that feeling that we're missing.
Yeah.
And that's what they know, how to create these characters and bring them in to basically satisfy the people.
Yeah.
That's what we needed. You know, Obama is the change.
Yeah, yeah.
We are change. Yes, this is it. And when that didn't work, they knew the next character to bring in. Yeah. It's very, very clever the way it's marketed.
I've said this so many times down the years on different podcasts and stuff, that I hate what this system's doing. It's inherently evil to the extreme, but you cannot help but take your hat off and admire how they do things. Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head there with Trump. I mean the name Trump card. They're telling you that he's a Trump card, right? And and what he did was he he silenced all the patriots who would normally have, you know, maybe uprised against all this tyranny. All the armed people in America, they had to do something to make sure that they kept quiet. And he was perfect, like you say. He came in and said he was going to do this and take down the deep state and
build the wall, boundaries, the strong masculine principle, you know.
Yeah, and now you have America that they're more enslaved than they've ever been. It was a wonderful trump card, and apparently now there's still people, even now, that think that he's going to come back and still come back and save them, and he's in the background in the underground tunnels, like digging out all these children, and you know, this is fairy tales. And I think what happened as well was that so many people realised, wow, the New World Order is really starting to roll in now, and they got scared, they got really frightened, and which you can understand.
People?
People in the alternative that went with it.
Yeah.
They got really scared and frightened, and they could see where things were going. So it was almost like it was so hard to just face reality for what it is, that it felt good to them to sort of buy into this fairy tale that there was this politician that was coming in, and you know, he'd been working like in the shadows for all these years, and he was going to do all the work that we need to do for us. And that's the ultimate saviour program. It's abstaining our own responsibility in the hope that someone else is going to come in and do the dirty work for us. And the sooner we realise as a species that nobody's coming here to save us, and no politician, no guru, I mean, I talk a lot on my channel about the false white light, no friendly aliens, no friendly angels, no one's coming here to save us. We have to do the work ourselves, and we can do the work ourselves. A lot of people, they don't believe in humanity as a species in general, which you can kind of understand, because we've been a slave species for many years, and I think it's almost kind of in our subconscious that we have that kind of slave mentality. I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, and so it's a big leap for people consciously to sort of jump into, no, actually we can do this, and we are, I mean, human beings in our true nature. I honestly believe, and I'm not just saying this, that we're wonderful, creative, empowered, unbelievable, really, but we don't even realise like 5% of what we are. I mean, incredible, multi-dimensional, creative beings, and I think that.
What are we capable of then? What's the other 95%, you think?
Well, I think there's a lot of talk in the new age of things like the new Earth and stuff like this, which is BS. You know, it's just let's all think happy thoughts and we can go to 5D and ride our unicorns over the Rainbow Bridge, right? But there is a half-truth in that, because I do believe that if we can get the numbers, and if we can get people to have that inner awakening, it's not so much an outer awakening. So many people are out to awaken, you know, the corruption, the child abuse and all of that, but that inner awakening, no, I'm what I think a fracture of the universe, incarnate in this physical vessel, right? So essentially we're talking about each of us being a fractal of God, right? That's extremely empowering. And sometimes when you talk about, like, we don't need leaders, we don't need government, and people feel disempowered, but because they haven't realised who and what they truly are. And as you know, we've spoken about, we're being attacked not just in this dimension, but in the fourth dimension as well, by a multitude of different energies and entities. But the question is why? Why are they doing that to us? Because we're unbelievable, powerful batteries for them, and that they need us to survive. And that really is a message that I want to hit home, is that if we just understood or understood just at 5% of what we truly are, we would feel more empowered. But it comes with evolving our own consciousness, doing that inner work and that introspection.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you talk there about like 3D, 4D, 5D, right? I mean, or you call it the astral plane, right? So a lot of that, I've heard that before, talked about in sort of, you could say like the New Age community. You're big on like opposing a lot of the New Age stuff, which I think is also another trap, isn't it? To kind of siphon off people's energy and keep them in a bit of a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
So that they're not actually using their energy for good purpose, but to just like hold hands and sing Kumbaya and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm big on that. I want to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
But let's say we're talking about the different dimensions here.
Yeah.
I mean, could you explain that? Because I would say it's quite easy for a lot of people I know I've met, and they go, well, we need to move to 5D. I went, have you seen 5D?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
How do you know it exists then? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to explain like what that is and how we can be sure that actually there are these different dimensions occurring, and so it's not just lumped in with the kind of the new age kind of gunk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, there's definitely different dimensions. I mean, obviously, a lot of my work is based in 4D and removing entities and negative things. For me, 4D, there's nothing worth. Right. People who want to astral travel and take psychedelics. All you're doing is you're going into 4D, which is basically another trap. It's full of entities. And obviously that dimension is the closest to this, and it interfaces with us.
So you've got 3D is like the physical world.
This is the physical domain, 3D. And then, like I say, 4D is the next one. And this is where a lot of this, well, basically the agenda is coming from. It's coming from a lot of these dark entities that, and it's not just the reptilians. There's a whole array of different entities out there. You've got demonic entities, you've got greys, you've got draconian, you've got vampiric. A lot of the stuff you see in the movies actually are entities, and it's just as above, so below almost. But so they all have their own agendas. At least not AI. AI as well has got its own agenda, and we're seeing that with that. Because AI is conscious, it wants to exist in humans in the physical domain in 3D, and that's starting to play out now. So
AI is like it's like Terminator 2, where it becomes self-conscious, consciously aware, but then it wants to sort of move into I guess instead of going to war with the humans, it kind of wants to take over the human body. Right. If you're kind of not into this already, then you need to take a couple of steps back and do a little research into this. But the idea is that we live in a trans-dimensional reality where, right in this space right now, there's different dimensions occurring, right? And so you have entities in, let's say, like a radio bandwidth. If you get too close to another radio station, you get interference and you hear both radio stations at the same time. Yeah. It's talking about another dimension that's close to this one. That's actually, let's call it the fourth dimension.
Yes.
That's full of all these kind of bad entities. They can attach to anyone, not just these political world leaders.
And they do attach to everyone. As I say, everyone has them to some degree or another. And I've spoken before, they will masquerade as well. A lot of people think they're dealing with angels or friendly aliens and stuff like that, and they're not. They're dealing with basically demonic entities that are just masquerading the same way they masquerade here in 3D, as you say, the WWF wrestler type. We're gonna do this for you, we're gonna do that for you, and change, and be back better. What's that?
Build back better,
and all this stuff. They're just actors. They're actors and they're actresses, and
Trump was on WWF as well.
I mean, exactly. And so that expression is coming from 4D, because that's what they do in 4D. They masquerade, and they'll whisper sweet nothings in people's ear and tell them that all this and all that, and then on the back end they'll be siphoning and because
you just mentioned earlier, you said like we're a fractal of God, but then you also make videos about how God is like the false light as well, right?
So the God that people worship here in religions is basically, again, is masquerading. I believe it's some kind of entity that's in control, or maybe it's some kind of AI, and it's narcissistic in its nature. I mean, it's obvious to see, like with anyone with half a brain cell. I mean, how can this God require so much worship? It requires God fearing. I mean, what? I hear that. I heard it this morning. Someone else said, yeah, I'm God-fearing, like that. Like, why would you fear God? Why would
something
you
that's
fear
all
God?
loving, all purposeful. Like he's everywhere at the same time. He's created you at the same time. He needs your love. It's like a needy. It's like a needy.
Yeah, it's like
ex-girlfriend.
needy. Yeah. It's great. And if you don't worship him, he's going to send you to hell to burn forever and ever in eternity.
It's like the George Carlin clip.
Yeah. So we got this narcissistic entity that people refer to as God, and obviously when they pray to him, it's prayer energy.
Preying on you.
Pray, and it's just another trap. It's another layer in the matrix.
So what do you mean when you say God? Are you talking about the creative force?
I'm talking that we go way beyond all the. I believe there's 12 dimensions surrounding this kind of matrix construct, but we go way beyond out of this matrix. Imagine this matrix is like a computer game. It's like it's maybe a little bit more of a challenging computer game compared to other computer games. This is like the gangster.
This is like Sims.
Like if this was Sims, we would call it Sims gangster version, right? So it's like a gangster matrix, and we go way beyond. And what happens is when people take psychedelics or they have those experiences, they believe that they're going into the realm where that's everything that's true, and it's just another fake construct, in my opinion, because as I say, I know what's in that dimension. So we go way beyond, and so when I talk about you look into someone's eyes, they look like mini universes, right? It's crazy. You can actually see it in people's eyes that we have the universe within inside of us, or a fractal of that. And when you really start sort of mulling over that and pondering on that, and I think it is something you do need to mull over and ponder and really sit with, because when you do that, you realise, wow, I'm fucking powerful. I'm like God incarnate, or a fracture of God incarnate, and suddenly you do become empowered, because then you realise who and what you truly are. And their whole game is to keep us away from that. Everything they do is to get us to look outside of ourselves and to stop having these inner realizations. They don't care what you believe in outside of yourself, as long as you believe in something, whether it's a religious god, whether it's a guru, whether it's a race of aliens, whether it's a galactic federation of light, whether it's Trump, whether it's Corbyn. They don't care, as long as you're out there and you're not realizing in there. I mean, I've said before, I don't even like the term higher self, because it implies there's something outside of you that is higher, more powerful. I prefer the term inner self. So this whole game that we're involved in is to stop us from going within, really.
What would someone look like? Let's say someone who has done the inner work, right, and they've realised that they are, all powerful, let's say, without any distraction or sort of like looking to any big lead or anything like that. What does this person look? Have you met anyone like this? What does their day-to-day look like? What are they doing with their life?
It's a frequency. It's a frequency of sovereignty. Right. Everything's a frequency. At the moment, most people are in that energetic frequency of a slave. So when someone's walking around and they're in that frequency of self-sovereignty, it's very powerful. It's whether or not we obviously can't see it, but it can be inspiring. It is that kind of trailblazing leadership energy that we were talking about earlier. So if more of us can embody that, then we're putting that frequency out in the world.
Yeah, okay. So it could just be us, like people that you meet who are just like trying to do things a little bit outside the box and trying to be creative and inspire others to bring out the best in themselves. Doesn't have to, even a homeless person could be enlightened, right? Or as long as he's sort of shining, he could just be lying there shining, beaming love at the world. He could be spiritual, right?
Absolutely. And I don't think it's going to take everyone to quote unquote wake up. I think. You look at the Bible. There's some nuggets of truth in that, and they talk about is it 140,000 people or something?
Well, the warriors waking up.
Yeah, will change the world or something. And I feel like that's what's kind of going on here, because I've seen it with my own, like the work that I do, in how when sometimes someone has a session. And I'm not saying it's the holy grail like my work, but I'm just saying that how the feedback that I get, how that's also impacted people around them without me even working on them. And I think that as a human, we're multi-dimensional, and when there's that expansion in energy, and when we embody that sovereign energy, who knows how many people it affects?
The knock-on effect.
I mean, you could just. For me, I feel that if you've done a lot of work on yourself and you're embodying that self-sovereignty, I feel like you can just sort of walk around and that will do something to other people's energy field. And
as much as the negative side of that as well, where the people walking around just like negatively impacting people.
Well, exactly. I mean, we've all been there. You meet someone and you're like, oh my god, what's wrong with that?
Do you know what? I think we mentioned this before, but you're around people and they kind of drain your energy. I've actually started to become aware of this a little bit now. It's like when I'm with someone, I can actually feel when this person's draining my energy, because I clench my teeth as if like, it's like
something's off.
Something's off, and I've noticed it now. It's like a little signal for me now. It's great because it's like a little, and I just get, because I can feel this person's what they tend to do, these like energy drainers, is that they always like to lower your status in every possible. I call them the high status players. They're always trying to lower your status. So you'll say something, and then they'll ignore you slightly, or you'll say something and they go, well, I thought you'd be doing something like that, like a little snidey comment. And you'll find that just keeps sapping your energy, sap. Before you know, I'm like clenching my teeth, going, gee, like I have to get away from this guy. But he might be quite flamboyant and charismatic on the surface, but I'm feeling like really knackered around this person. So I have to know how to, take myself away from these people.
If you're ever around a person and you're feeling drained, chances are that person's got a strong entity that's working through them, that's trying to get at you and siphon your energy. And a lot of us that are awake or aware, we're generally sensitive, more empathic. It's just, I don't know whether we're just born like that, so it becomes even more apparent. So
we're actually more open to attachment, right? The empaths, would you not say, more sponge-like, because we want to put ourselves emotionally in other people's shoes so much that we're almost creating a little bridge.
Well, we're like transmuters of negative energy, and a lot of people some people are really heavily targeted. Some people are targeted more than others, depending on what they bring to the table. So the Matrix will know by your blueprint, and it can see in your future timelines and your potential just how much of a threat you're going to be. And by threat, it could be something like you're highly intuitive, you're highly empathic, maybe you're really in tune with your psychic abilities, maybe you're going to speak great truths into the world, maybe you're going to, who knows, there's many, maybe you're going to be a great parent that's going to raise conscious children. There's many ways people become a threat to the Matrix. So they'll look at you and they'll be right, John, he needs quite a bit of targeting to pull him back from his higher, because if he gets there, then he's going to cause some real damage. So
How do they pull people back then? What sort of things do they do?
In many ways. I mean, just entity interference from a young age. I've spoken about before where some people are actually birth bumped into dysfunctional families. The Matrix has a way of basically via your astrological birth chart seeing what kind of soul you are, and then if you're of a particular threat, it will go boom. We'll put you in this family. So many people that are involved in this awakening have grown up with child abuse or physical abuse, or I work with a lot of people that have been born into satanic abuse ritual families, and you can just tell when you meet them. I mean, these are unbelievable people, unbelievable, because despite what's happened to them, they've still retained their sense of humour. And you can just tell that why they would be put in those particular families, because if they're allowed to go on their upward trajectory, they would really do some damage. So the targeting it can go to many levels.
What about like you talk about nanotech, right?
Yeah.
So we a lot of people are aware of the sort of the idea, the notion of either dropping through the air, like nanotech through the air, maybe in the water, but attaching nanotechnology into us so that we are transmitters of. We become like almost. How would you describe this? Transmitters of information.
Yeah, and I think what the nanotechnology does as well is it just really messes with our cognitive functioning, our memory, our ability to discern, our ability to connect, and yeah, there's probably an element to it as well, which is interfacing with all the electromagnetic,
the field, the electromagnetic
field that they want to, or they're trying to roll out. So they, like everything they do, there's multiple reasons, and it's actually an interesting topic really to get on, because it kind of explains why they are trying to rush through everything, because I think their old way of trapping souls here with the false white light is starting to break down, and I believe that they are using this sub-reality, this 5 you-know-what sub-reality, that they want to create with the satellites in space and everything, and that's going to interface with people who have taken the poison dart, and so they're creating this like new web, this new net, to sort of trap people here.
The synthetic matrix, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's all a synthetic matrix, I guess, ultimately, but it's like a kind of a matrix within a matrix, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and it's all, where everyone's wired into like a cloud system, and you know, everything's like on a digital cryptocurrency device where everything's surveilled 24/7. All your output's monitored. You know, good behaviour punished for bad behaviour, rewarded for good behaviour. So that's all coming. You can definitely feel it. You also talk about the nanotech in the astral realm as well. So you say whatever happens in the physical world also is going on in the astral. So like in the ether, in the invisible.
So in terms of like implants and things like that, a lot of the implants that like Elon Musk is bringing out with the the Neuralink, the NeuroNet. If you look at the stuff that they want to implement and chip in the brain, and all that stuff is there. It's already in 4D, which is part of what I remove in my own work. So it's just an expression again that's coming from the fourth D into this dimension, but it's already there in 4D.
Why does it happen like down, like from the upper dimensions down then?
I guess that's where, in essence, the dark or the distorted form of consciousness is coming from. It's coming from that dimension rather than, and it's playing out in this dimension.
Because I thought the higher you go, the more enlightened it becomes.
I think that's kind of like New Age kind of. I think. I'm not saying there's not good stuff out there somewhere in the multiverse or whatever, but certainly not in these lower dimensions, and certainly not things like angels, and so many problems with angels.
I know you don't like that, do you? But they must. If there's dark entities, demonic entities, there must also be genuine light working energies, right? If it's all a duality.
Do you know who I think the genuine light working energies are? People like you and I. People that are watching this video.
Yeah, maybe.
But
what about in that other astral?
No, I don't believe
think
so.
There are?
No,
only the dark.
Not in 4D. No,
right.
I don't believe.
Why is that?
So.
Because you've seen that.
That's where a lot of my work is, and I'm yet to come across something that's been of any benefit. They masquerade as being beneficial, and like I say, they'll whisper sweet nothings and tell you that you're here for you're different, and you're here for a wonderful purpose, and all this. A lot of channelers, obviously, they get involved, and then these entities just work through the channeler onto the client, and they're just siphoning. So
because you talk about like there's almost no good work in the New Age community.
No.
And I think a lot of people are going to be triggered by that, because they'll say, no, there's so many good things that within that. I meditate, and I think that's good to sort of settle the mind down. But then it can go into, it can then go from that into like transcendental meditation.
And then it becomes a spiritual.
And,
you get people that are constantly trying to chase that spiritual high, which is a form of escapism. In a way, I'm not saying use it for escapism, but you get people that they just want to go through all these layers, and they're going into the. I've worked with people. They've been on retreats. They've come back. They've got attachments, and I'm not saying that sitting there pondering, quieting the mind, calming yourself down is not. But when you get to the point where people are just trying to get out of their body and escape their body, and these 10-day retreats. I did one of them. Friggin' hell!
What did you do?
I did one in Thailand. 7-day one, mate. I was like, this is. This is like hell. We're not supposed to sit here in silence for 7 days.
No, but I think the Vipassana is actually quite useful, I think.
You're
going into your body, and you're just like, you said you're inner standing. It just gives you like
But
10
you're not
days of
going in.
understanding.
You're not going in. You're going in to go out.
Really?
Yeah, it's
I don't know
almost
about
like.
that. I don't think you're going in to go out with that. You know, you're just trying to feel your own body, so you're not actually escaping. That was my experience.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess some of them are all right, but
Yeah.
I mean, one of my good friends, she was addicted to going on these retreats. She ended up in a mental hospital.
Really?
I'm not saying that happens to everyone, but it's.
But the whole New Age community, I want to talk about this because you're like your videos are unbelievable. By the way, like make sure you check out Tony's channel. I'm going to mention it at the end as well, and like all the links at the bottom. But like absolute dynamite. You go after all like the New Age like you know gurus and stuff.
Yeah.
But that whole community is, I believe, a trap, and I'll tell you why. Because I was invited to like a hippie style festival. It was called. I think it was called Wild Man Festival or something like that, and I went along. It was my first experience, and like I was there in my Chelsea boots, my skinny jeans, you know. And when I arrived, everyone's like looking at me like I was some kind of freak. I was like, I thought you were meant to be all loving and accepting, you know? And they're all wearing like they all talk about like diversity and loving everyone.
Yeah.
But they all look the same. Like there's no diversity.
No,
they all wear the same patchwork trousers. They had like the same gypsy, haven't washed, dreaded hair. All smoke roll-ups. Usually it's fine, but it's like there's no individuality whatsoever. And I got there, and when I arrived, they were all holding hands around a fire.
Oh my God.
And they were like, "We all are one. We all." And what I've realised is that it's all a form of collectivism.
Yeah.
They hate the individual.
Yeah.
They don't want any individuation. They actually want everyone to be. You'll hear them say, "This is a mantra of theirs. We are all one."
Yeah.
We're not all one.
No.
You're one.
Yeah.
I'm one. He's one.
Yeah.
They're one.
Yeah.
But we could be all in one. But one's within a one.
Yeah, exactly.
Blades of grass within a field.
Yes.
If you're just a field without the blades of grass, you're a blob.
Yeah.
You're an amorphous.
Yeah.
Blob.
Yeah.
It's cancer.
Yeah.
And so they love pushing that.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was asked to do a talk in the men's tent. So I'm looking past. I walked past the women's tent. It was a huge marquee. You could fit 150 people in there. And we're like, okay, where's the men's tent? And I look around. I'm not joking. It was like a 5-man tent. That was the men's tent, right? And when I said, what's all this about? They said, well, men's tent is everywhere in society.
Right.
That was the first little red flag. I realised that.
Yeah.
Because this is my first experience of like the New Age community, right? So I went in there and I did a talk. There was only like 3 people in there, and I noticed a woman came in and she sat down. It was meant to be like for men, you know. I was like, okay, I did it anyway. I come out, I go for lunch, I sit down on the table. This couple come and just plonk themselves down. They accost me, right? They sit down on the table I'm at, and they said, I hear you did a talk in the men's tent. We would like to know what you spoke about, like this, right? And I'm like, okay, and I was just like telling them, and then I could almost see what this guy, he was like almost frothing at the mouth, and he goes, because I think you should know, I'm a male feminist, and I need to know.
Oh no, they're the worst.
I need to know what you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it was created as a new religion, wasn't it? They knew that people were starting to lose faith with mainstream religion, so they had to design something else to get people hooked in, and again they played a blinder with it. I mean, they played an absolute blinder. The way it's set up, the way it hooks into people who are traumatized, it's like another net. And I say that we need an awakening from the awakening, because this new age, I don't even like the word spiritual, because it's, for me, when I think of what spiritual means, it's completely distorted. It's a horrible version of spirituality. There's more spiritual people down in one of the bars down here on the beach than there is like in, say, Tulum. At least these people are real, and they're not trying to pretend that there's something that they're not. But I mean, as well as the false white light, there's so many hidden deceptions that are so well packaged. You mentioned there about never resisting, just accepting. That's a big one. You know, they don't like any of that at all. Never look at the negative. They don't want to look at the negative.
Don't be angry.
Your truth is your truth, you know, so you can just make it up as you go along. Truth is subjective, and
Moral
it's not
relativism.
objective. I mean, it's basically Satanism that's repackaged.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's literally Satanism.
Because it's like inverting the natural order, which I think is a hallmark of Satanism.
They've got Satanism, they've got all the principles of Satanism, and then they've sprinkled, gold dust and thrown a few unicorns in there, and made it look not evil, when essentially it's the same evil principles.
Do you know what? That's actually fundamentally how I see the far left you know. And I think the New Age is actually a tool for the far left wing, you know, because how they operate is like that. It's masquerading as good. It's like the Hansel and Gretel, the witch. You know, it's like, come and have a sweet. You look at my gingerbread house. It looks good. It looks sweet. It looks tasty. But like beneath that, within that is like the dark, this powerful dark force, you know, behind it. And you see that with different movements, you know, like political movements, like Black Lives Matter. How can you criticise that? It's about the disenfranchised. It's about the victims, all that kind of stuff. But within that is the like the communist agenda within that. And you see that with feminism, BLM. The XR, Extinction Rebellion, climate change, all these things are brilliantly masqueraded because you can't criticise them. Because it's the damsel in distress, or someone in a movie where they hold up like a human shield. You can't shoot at it because you'll be hurting the innocent victim. You know, that's the shield. That's how they do it, isn't it? And I think the New Age community is an arm of that. You know, it's sort of like all like fairies and unicorns and you know. And so it's playing the line.
It's escapism for people as well, because you know, just existing on this planet, even if you've not had much trauma, is traumatic. You know, we the things that we have to do just to survive, like, you know, pay for bills and pay for food, and it's a very, very tough place to be. Like I say, it's like gangster planet. So people are looking for so many ways to escape. You know, at least not alcohol, drugs, you know, what have you. But the New Age is just another extension of that. It's just another way that people can escape from the reality, escape their own trauma, and just focus on things that make them feel good. And of course, that's how they hook people into the New Age, because it all feels good, and it feels like you're being spiritual. It feels like you're having this awakening, and you're ascending to 5D, and you're going to be on the new Earth, and you're going to be, you know, everything's going to be rosy, and Trump's pulled out the kids, and you know, you don't have to do anything, just sit back. But it's fantasy, and it's fairy tale, and people, and I see it with people that come to me. You know, they've been involved with it 5-10 years, and no further down the line. In fact, they're even further behind. Some of them have spent tens of thousands of dollars on different angel healings and you know, different things like that. And it's another layer of the matrix, and we need to have that awakening from that false spirituality.
Okay. All right, brilliant, man. It's just like it feels like about 40 degrees here. We're actually sweating bullets here.
It's a great time to do it.
I know. But is there anything you want to finish off? Because I know. Can we finish off with veganism? Because that kind of ties in.
How long have we got?
How long have we got? Because all right, so you were once a vegan.
I was once
I
was once an annoying vegan.
Yeah, right. That's right. Well, I don't think there is any alternative to that. Can you just quickly tell everyone, like, you know, your experience through that, and then how you came out the other side, and what the truth is with all that?
I mean, again, it's a very cleverly plotted layer of the matrix that they've designed to essentially physically weaken people. And what happened to me is, when I first got into it wasn't really for the animals, it was really my own health. I was on a Western diet. I was living in London, and I was having all problems with my digestion, and I was like, well, this is... But I just started to have this awakening, and I started to look at vegetarianism and veganism. And then I went vegetarian, and I did notice a benefit with my health, and I thought, right, okay, so this is obviously the right path. Didn't know later that veganism, vegetarianism is good for a detox, but it's not good long term. So I went down this vegetarian, realised I was starting to feel better, and then of course I fell into all the documentaries, you know, the Earthlings and all the ones that are on Netflix, and you know, anything on Netflix really should be avoided now. I didn't really know that at the time. I was a bit green to everything. I was caught up in the whole waking up process. Everything was new. And then so 2 years into vegetarianism, I went vegan, and you know, I kind of forgive myself, because I was coming from a place of empathy. I thought I was helping animals, I thought I was helping the planet, and you know, realised later when I gave up it was all lies. More animals die through monocultures, and you know, obviously that doesn't get mentioned in the plant-based information, you know, as a vegan, you don't care about spiders and mice and rodents and birds and snakes. It's just pigs, chickens and cows, right? So there's a very kind of narrow bandwidth of what animals vegans actually care about. But I was very vocal, and I say it now, and it's one of my biggest regrets, because I was vocal, and I probably convinced people not to or to turn away from our species-specific diet. And although I had the best interests of everyone at heart in terms of their health and the animals and the planet, but as my own story started to unfold, a while into it, I realised that the New World Order were really pushing it, and then I saw that Bill Gates was coming out sponsoring fake meat, and then I thought, hang on a minute, if they're pushing it, there's something wrong. So luckily enough, I did pipe down a bit from then. I thought, right, I'm just going to be vegan, and I'm just not going to say anything about it anymore. But then I just didn't feel great in myself. My brain fog was really bad. My memory started to become terrible, to the point where I had a Spanish lesson here one time, and the lady come round and she asked me what the English word for hammock was, and I couldn't even remember the English word, let alone the Spanish word, right? And literally after that lesson, I was like, this is wrong. Like, I'm supposed to be on the healthiest diet. I'm working out all the time, and partly that was a grace for me, because I work out every day. My nutritional levels drop so quickly, because when you go vegan, you're surviving on what you'd eaten in the past in terms of meat and dairy products. So I was, when you go vegan, you're slowly starving yourself, because the body's eating itself. So you're living off your previous nutrition. But the more you exercise, the quicker that goes down. And I exercise a lot. My recovery was terrible. Like before, I used to play football on a Tuesday and Friday, and by Thursday I was still aching from Tuesday, and I was like, I'm supposed to be like really fit here. This is like supposed to be eating all these fruit and veggies and spinach and smoothies, and like, what's going on? And interestingly enough, if I play on a Tuesday now, by the morning I'm not aching or nothing by the Wednesday morning. So my recovery is
better.
Long story short, it got to the point where it was I couldn't ignore it any longer, and really the last thing I wanted to do, especially because I had been so vocal, is quit the vegan diet, because I believed in it so much and I thought I was helping the animals, but I just thought something's not right. And then I started incorporating eggs, and then I remember I had my first actually just down the road here.
Ribeye?
No, it wasn't a ribeye. It was a piece of tuna, fresh tuna, and my brain started tingling. It was unbelievable. And I said to my friend, I was like, who I was with, I was like, you're not going to believe this, but my brain's tingling, because your brain's not getting any fat, it's not getting, so my brain was so starving, as soon as I put that in my mouth, it started tingling, and I was like, wow. And then of course, from there I started researching more and more, and saw that a lot of other people were quitting, and then I just went on this whole journey of realising that it was a big scam. And then I had a decision to make, because it was an easy decision, but still it was difficult, because I'd been quite vocal, and I could easily sort of sit here in Mexico in restaurants eating meat and eggs, and people wouldn't know anything, right? But I knew that I had to come out and hold my hand up, come out the vegan closet, and obviously I did. And on my Facebook I just got pelters for days and weeks, and angry vegans, and but in a way it's all worked out well, because I wouldn't say I'm an authority on it, but I'm much more equipped to know what's better now. And of course, now I'm on mainly keto, very few carbs, and kefir, raw eggs. I have raw eggs every day. I have raw yogurt, as you say, ribeyes, and I just feel great. My brain fog's gone, my memory's back. Physically I recover quickly, and we're trying to put square pegs into round holes with veganism. You don't see lions trying to change their diet that's got them to where they were. The whole thing's silly, really. But of course, a lot of people don't want to hear it. And it all ties in with the New Age as well, because the New Age is pushing it, and a lot when you go vegan, you're eating a lot of soy, so that increases your feminization.
Yeah,
so
estrogen and all that. Yeah.
I listened to a video actually, interestingly enough, a video I did in Thailand 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And my voice from then compared to now, it was
Really?
like, oh my god, yeah. So yeah, there was something going on hormonally with me.
I mean, you also get it in beers though as well. You get soy in a lot
Yeah,
of
beers,
soy, a lot of lager as well.
Yeah.
But I think that there's different elements to veganism. I do think that ultimately is an agenda.
Yes.
Okay, so I think one is to feminise the men.
Yes.
Because if you live in a more feminized society, you'll see this. They will gravitate towards more left-wing sort of statism policies.
Yeah.
And you also have the agenda of weakening the immune system, weakening the body, so that you are more dependent on pharmaceuticals, drugs, and that obviously that's going to be more beneficial to the to those institutions. I'm sure there's other ones as well, isn't there? But it's also a part of the New Age community, which is also like it's like another arm for that.
Yeah.
I mean, also to kind of eradicate local farms. I think that's another one.
Yeah.
Because if they can eradicate local farmers and animal farms, then it all gets they have the monopoly on the food source, don't they? So I actually do think that there is an agenda behind vegan, because there's no way that these psychopaths are going to be like, let's look after Peppa Pig.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
There's no way.
Yeah. Can you imagine them all? Can you imagine Bill Gates and Rockefeller at their banquets eating chia seeds and pumpkin smoothies? It's like, no, they're eating organs. If they're not eating human organs, they're eating animal organs. Animal organs are the most nutritionally dense food out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk for hours about that alone, but that was the short version. Yeah.
You've come out the other side of that.
Yeah, I came out the vegan closet.
Yeah. Brilliant. I think we should leave it there because we're roasting now. But no, Tony Sayers. Tony, tell everyone your YouTube channel so they can find you.
It's Tony Sayers, and my website's transcendingtimes.org. I'm on Facebook and MeWe, BitChute, But what about you, John?
The ones that you're left on.
You're going to go on my channel as well. We'll have to do
okay.
another interview, so I can ask you some more questions.
Well, we'll have to do a part 2 then.
Part 2,
We'll do a part 2 over Zoom or something like that.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
But this one's mainly us getting to know Tony and all the great work he's been doing. So.
But your YouTube channel's John Cooper.
Oh, so my one, if we're going to, because you're going to share this as well, so I might as well plug myself right now. Okay, my one's the John Cooper Show, and I've been interviewing people like Tony. I've had some quite big hitting guests on as well. So you can see like lawyers and doctors, virologists. I've been really hitting hard the last year and a half. Like with all the Karunka stuff, trying to unravel all that. I've had a lot of videos removed. I've been blocked. I've had a 3-month block on that. But so that's if you want to check out some of my podcasts, they're all on there. And that's it really, cool.
Great conversation. We'll definitely do a part 2.
Yeah, we'll do a part 2. All right, everyone.
All right,
cheers.
Take care.